Hi there, welcome to episode 146 of Mike's Collection. I'm Mike, and the part of my collection that I'm going to be talking about today is some new Marvel Legends figures. It wasn't that long ago, I think 2 or 3 episodes ago, I posted a pretty lengthy video to catch up on all my Marvel Legends purchases, because there had been quite a few, but somehow I've accumulated a bunch more since then. So this is going to be just another kind of catch-up video for all my Marvel Legends releases. So this is not like one particular wave. This is a little bit of figures from kind of all over the place. And with most of these figures, some of them I just purchased a day or two ago. Some of them I've had for a couple of weeks. But I've already opened most of them. So I shot a little insert so you can see it in the box, which is usually what I do, which I'll stick in there. But most of the figures, like you'll see here, are, they're already open, out and about. Except one here, I'm going to do an unboxing right now. And partly because when I shoot the inbox or the carded images of the figures, I have a very little room to work with. This desk is about this thick. So when I put something on the back of the wall here and I'm shooting with my tablet to get the front, I have kind of just enough room to fit a carded 6-inch figure in here. That's why sometimes you'll see me kind of have to pan up or pan down to try and get the whole image in there. Anyway, this is a bigger box, and I just could not film it on my desk, so I figured I would save it and unbox it with you guys here. So this is a Marvel Legends box set that was just released as an exclusive as part of Hasbro's HasCon that they just had this past weekend. I'm filming this on October 25th on the Monday, and on Friday and Saturday Hasbro had a virtual convention. And over the course of 2 days, they had a bunch of special guests and, a bunch of different panels, just like they would have had at a real live con. And then they also had exclusive figures, and they revealed them. So the first day, it was like Power Rangers and Transformers and Star Wars, maybe. And then the second day was G.I. Joe, Marvel Legends. So there was a few exclusives that I ordered through Hasbro's website, but we're not going to talk about all that right now, but like some G.I. Joes and some Transformers and stuff. As far as the Marvel Legends goes, so what was kind of interesting about these is these items were supposed to be, I don't know if they were supposed to be revealed in advance. They definitely were, like images were leaked, but they definitely weren't supposed to go on sale before October 22nd, which was the first day of HasCon, or the 23rd, if the reveals were that day. So, for example, Marvel Legends, they shouldn't go on sale until the Saturday. So anyway, it was about a month ago when, and I'm in Canada, and I was on my Facebook, and I'm in a couple different toy groups on Facebook for Marvel Legends and for Star Wars Black Series and things. And I saw these people posting on Facebook saying, I went to my GameStop today, and they had the HasCon figures. And so one of them was like an exclusive Zartan that comes with a bunch of extra accessories, and he turns blue. One of them was this some Power Ranger sets, and one of them was this Modoc set. Another one, a really popular one, was this Venom that's decoed to look like the kind of the animated 90s Venom. So people were buying all this stuff up, and I was seeing lots of images of people posting them. So I thought, well, I better try and grab some of these if they're out there. So I called my local EB Games. They had none, but then they referred me to one that was just a little farther out. And they said that they had the Modoc set, and they would hold that for me. And this was during the work day, so I was like, okay, well, it's like noon now. Can you hold that till 4 o'clock when I get there after work? And they said, sure. So, again, this is about a month ago. So 4 o'clock comes around. I drive into the EB Games into the city. And I said, you guys have a toy aside for me? And they're like, oh, was that the Modoc toy? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, we got an email that said we shouldn't have sold any of this stuff. It was all supposed to be held for a strict street date. And so apparently nobody had communicated that to any of the stores before they shipped it out to them. And quite a few of these things, the Zartans, the Modocs, they all made it out into people's hands. But for me, they said, we'll still hold it for you, but you have to wait until October 22nd. So I've known this thing was set aside for me, so that was nice that I didn't have to panic about trying to buy it up online before it disappeared, because all these HasCon exclusives were limited number items and all that stuff. So anyway, here we go. This is my Modoc box set. And so this is called the Modoc World Tour. So since it's World Tour, and I'll explain this more to you in a little bit once we open it up. But you can see here he's got kind of this rock star Elvis-y look to him with his haircut and sunglasses, which is not what you would normally see on Modoc. Anyway, so the fact that this is a world tour, the case is supposed to look like, you know, like roadie gear. If I was packing up for a concert or something and I had all my equipment, my guitars and stuff, this is the kind of case that you would see. Now, first off, it's just got this little sleeve on the bottom. This just slips off, I believe. Yeah, get rid of that. So there you go. There you see the box. So it's got a picture of like kind of Modoc's face on the front. And then it's got like little like logos that are supposed to look like stickers on the case. So that's all pretty cool. And I guess we'll open this up. Now I should have thought ahead and had an X-Acto knife or something ready for me. So let me just grab that. Okay, knife in hand. So let's see what we got here. Now this figure is kind of weird, and it won't be everybody's cup of tea, which is exactly what I think convention figures should be. It's really frustrating right now, like being a collector of, say, like G.I. Joe Classified, that toy line, because I want all these figures, but they keep making all these stupid store exclusives, and they're figures that everybody's going to want. Like, they're standard release figures, the first time we're seeing certain characters. So yeah, I don't know why they're making them all exclusive. It drives me nuts. But for this figure, like Modoc was a standard release figure that came out a little while ago. This guy's packed in here pretty good, by the way. So yeah, if you wanted a standard Modoc, like the way he appears like 99% of the time, you could go out and you get that. I did not get it because he's a bigger figure, so he's a little pricier. And honestly, I've just never cared for Modoc all that much. He's kind of a goofy looking character. Alright. This is complicated. Oh, there we go. Maybe that's what I should have done from the beginning. Okay, slice along the side there, so as if I'm undoing those buckles. Now this thing opens up. Here we go. So there's two figures in this box set. You can see right here. And then I assume we've got some accessories and stuff kind of hidden down in this compartment. And then over here, you've got, it's hard for me to see this and show it to you at the same time. But, you know, it looks like there's drumsticks and stuff packaged in there, but that's just a flat image of Rockstar Modoc and some other stuff there. This thing is kind of, the plastic's coming undone, so the figure's practically falling out of here. Oops. So yeah, there's Modoc. So we'll take a closer look at him in a second. And let me see if I can get to these accessories. Anyway, I forget what I was saying, but yeah, like popular characters, you know, like a Spider-Man from Marvel Legends or something, should never be exclusive because everybody's going to want Spider-Man. But for Spider-Man and his like armor that he only wore once or something, that's the kind of thing you could maybe make exclusive because really only kind of hardcore fans would really want that. And with this here, this is a perfect kind of convention set because not only is this kind of an obscure version of Modoc, but the character he's packaged with is equally, if not even more so, obscure. So anyway, you've seen the box. I'm going to have to wrestle with this a little bit to get the accessories out of the bottom here. So why don't we cut away and we'll come back on the flip side. Okay, so here are my action figures of Modoc and the Captain outside of the box. Now, unless you're a hardcore Marvel fan, you might be wondering who the hell are these guys. You might know who Modoc is, but he's looking a little weird here, and you've probably never heard of the Captain. So let me explain to you where they come from. These guys appeared in a comic book called Nextwave, Agents of Hate. And this was a 12-issue miniseries published in, I think, 2007 or 2008. It's written by Warren Ellis, and it was drawn by Stuart Immonen. Now, it was a really fun series. I bought both collections when they first came out, so I didn't buy the individual issues, but I have these, like the bound editions, which cover all 12 issues. And it was a strange book. Warren Ellis is kind of a weird dude anyway, and I didn't really know what to make of this story at the time, but it was a lot of fun. And I'd actually intended to reread it before I reviewed these figures, but I just never got a chance. So It's been many, many years, like a decade since I've read this storyline, but I do remember really enjoying it. So it was kind of a weird team that was assembled here. And you see the team on the cover of both collections. And so what it consists of is this character, the captain, this guy here. And this was a newly created character. He had never appeared before. So you see him there on the side with his little jacket and his baggy camo pants. And then next up, the one with the long blonde hair. And maybe, let me just grab this for a second. Get a closer look of everybody. So there's the team. So yeah, the one with the long blonde hair, that's actually the X-Men Boom Boom. Now, I do have a Marvel Legend figure of Boom Boom, but it's her in her X-Force costume. And it doesn't really look anything like she did in Nextwave. But at least I've got her there. In the middle there is the character sometimes known as Captain Marvel, sometimes known as Photon. It's Monica Rambeau. You know, she most recently appeared in the Scarlet, WandaVision TV series. So they did make an action figure of her, but it was part of a convention box set many years ago, and I don't have that. So hopefully they'll make a new figure of her soon, now that she's appeared in TV and stuff. She's kind of got a little boost in popularity. But I wouldn't be surprised if they make her in her more popular, more well-known 80s look, as opposed to this Nextwave look. Next guy you have there, another guy in a coat with like a yellow suit. That is Aaron Stack, the Machine Man. And that is a kind of a different look for him as well, because I do have a Machine Man figure, but this is based on his like initial Jack Kirby design from like the 60s, you know, which is much more superhero. You know, purple tights, the telescoping arms, which he still had all those abilities in the comic, but he decided to go with a much more humanoid appearance. The only thing that he really kept was the kind of the big bugging out eyes. So you do still see that there on the comic book. That Machine Man does have these kind of big old yellow eyes popping out. And then the last character here is Elsa Bloodstone. Now, she is not a very well-known character either, but she's been around in Marvel for a long time. And they did make a figure of her. I believe she was in the exact same box set as the Monica Rambeau figure. Again, I did not pick up that box set, which is kind of a bummer, because if I had, I would now have the complete team of Nextwave, even though you know, at least two members would not have their Nextwave looks. But you know, I wouldn't be surprised if they give us those looks eventually. So, get these guys out of here. So yeah, Nextwave was a weird book, and when it was initially put out, I believe that Marvel had said that this was taking place outside of regular continuity, which is why, you know, Boom Boom looked so different from what we were used to seeing. I don't know how this book necessarily came about, if Warren Ellis picked whatever characters he wanted to, and Marvel said, okay, well, we don't want you messing with Boom Boom, because, you know, she's an X-Men character, she's got X-Men things to do, so you can take these characters as long as you set them outside of regular continuity, and you can do whatever you want with them. However, in the years since, they seem to have kind of backtracked on this being out of continuity, and these characters have interacted, and I think even referenced Nextwave books in other books. So this now is part of continuity, I believe. But yeah, it was a little weird look for these guys. I don't think any of them maintained these looks. Elsa Bloodstone kind of looks like that still, but the other ones have gone back to their more traditional looks. And I don't think we've really seen the Captain pop up anywhere since his appearances in Nextwave. Now, as for Modoc, I was remembering it wrong, but as soon as I saw this figure, I was like, oh yeah, I guess I kind of remember them doing something like that in Nextwave, because there's all kinds of weird stuff that happens in this comic book. But I was flicking through it to find the section with the Elvis Modoc, and I was like, is this really all it is? And I guess it is. There is a section in this book near the end, the climax, where Nextwave decides to kind of raid the bad guys' headquarters. And so I'll pop it open. Hopefully the glare on here is not too bad. But you'll see it's every page here is a 2-page spread. So you see the members of Nextwave. There's Boom Boom blasting some robots. You see the Captain hoisting up these purple gorillas and throwing them. Bloodstone, Machine Man there. You see him with his telescoping arms and legs. He's punching some monsters, some ogres. I don't know what's going on. There's Photon doing her thing. So one big 2-page spread there. Here's another one as they fight their way through the headquarters. So you see the defeated creatures here from the last page. And now what are they fighting? They're fighting guys in wheelchairs. There's the captain punching out a guy in a wheelchair. And the guys in wheelchairs seem to have like laser eyes. It's all kind of strange. Then on this page here, this is where the Modoc Elvises come in. So you see Modoc. There's three or four of them. There's one destroyed over here in the corner. They've all got like Elvis sunglasses and sideburns, and they're shooting. You can see they're shooting these like cheeseburgers out of their chest. Like that's their weapon, I guess. And Nextwave is also fighting these little gimpy baby Iron Men and these ninjas in their underwear. Pirates. There's the captain again going with a big uppercut. So yeah, this goes on. It gets kind of just weirder and weirder. There's samurais with multiple arms. There's dinosaurs with Cyclops-like eye lasers. Again, I apologize for all the glare here because I've got all these different light sources. But now they're fighting a giant gorilla in a Wolverine costume, along with other little monkeys in Wolverine costumes. So yeah, as I flicked through both of these books, that was the only reference to Elvis Modok that I could find. So yeah, I think he literally was a one-panel joke. And here he is with his own action figure. So anyway, now that we've got that all established, let me get these out of here and we'll take a closer look at the figures. So, as I mentioned earlier, they did release a Modoc figure earlier this year. And this is pretty much the exact same figure, I imagine. I don't have that figure in front of me, but, you know, he had, I believe, this flame base. This whole body would have been about the same. Modoc is this creation of AIM, and he's this dude with a big head and these little arms and these little legs, and he floats around in this outfit, or like this harness, this chair, whatever you want to call it. And Modoc is one of those characters that, yes, he's been around a long time. You know, you could argue that he's a key villain in the Marvel Universe, but I just never liked the look of him. He's not particularly cool. He usually has, kind of this little tiara across his head and this kind of flat dome haircut, which doesn't help. And that's what the other figure would have. So when they put out that figure, I was like, you know what? If this guy was like $40, maybe I'd grab him. But this guy retails for about $70, and it just wasn't worth it to me. I didn't need a Modoc in my collection that badly. But when I saw that they were putting this version out as a convention exclusive, as goofy as this is, I thought he actually looks better like this. I think this one's funner with the Elvis haircut and the kind of Elvis sneer and all that stuff. You see he's got a little microphone attached to his chair, which I'm sure the other Modoc does not have. He probably has like a laser weapon or something attached here, but he's got the mic on a swiveling arm. And it was also the fact that I got the captain. I probably would not have bought this Modoc just on its own, but the fact that you get this guy, and this is not a character that's... I definitely don't see Hasbro releasing this guy as a regular retail release, because I can't imagine who would really want him. So I thought, if I'm ever going to get this guy, I have to buy this box set. Since I didn't buy the other Modoc, this figure doesn't feel like a complete waste of money to me. It would kind of have pissed me off if I had spent $70 to get the regular Modoc and then had to buy this one as well. But considering I didn't have the other one in my collection, I felt like this was some bang for my buck. And this box set here, in Canadian dollars, it was $100 plus tax. However, I get a discount from GameStop for being a regular customer there, so it ended up being, I think, about $90 plus tax, which is pretty reasonable considering that the regular Modoc retails for about $70, and a regular Marvel Legends retails for $30 to $34 now. That even though this was a convention exclusive, it was basically the same or less than these two figures would have been at a regular, Walmart retail price or something. So not too bad. All right. Now, as I was fiddling around with this guy, I was noticing his face was coming off. I don't even know what that does. Okay. But there you go. This is my first time seeing this. So his face comes off, and his hair comes off too by the looks of things. I don't know if it's supposed to do that. I don't know if these are supposed to be glued in place. Maybe the idea is that you can put the other Modoc face in here. I don't know, but it does come out quite easily. Anyway, as far as articulation goes, you can see he's got, he moves at the knee, at the ankle as well. Plus he's got the ball joint there at the base of the leg, same as the arm, ball joint there, elbow and wrist. So it's about as much articulation as you would need from this guy. This thing moves there. He swivels at the top of the fire. The fire actually looks like it has two separate, so it swivels there. I think that's about it. I don't know if this guy does anything else. As far as accessories, so he comes with a couple of extra hands. So one of them is just like a closed fist for this hand. And over here he's got an open gripping hand. I assume that's so you could maybe put the mic in his hand. He also comes with some Elvis shades. And it looks like those just pop into some holes on the side of his head there. So let's see. Yeah, there you go. There's Modoc in his shades. And then lastly, he comes with this, I guess, weapon, which is this line of cheeseburgers on a clear stand. Those are removable. Just plug them in there like that. So now you can recreate him shooting cheeseburgers from his chest. Very weird, but kind of fun. And then the captain. So he's a pretty standard figure. He's got a pretty ugly mug on him, but I think it's pretty true to Stuart Immonen's art. He did have these really deep widow's peaks in the artwork there. So this one here, he's got kind of this smug, smiley look. He has an alternate head, which has got an angrier expression. I don't know which one I like better. Kind of the angry one, maybe. But he was kind of a goofy character, but I think this one might suit him more. And yeah, as I mentioned, I don't think this character's really appeared anywhere since like the 2008 series. Maybe a cameo here or there. So he's not a super well-established character, especially since he was the only one in Nextwave that was a newly created character. All those other characters had, some of them had their own series of their own and all that stuff. But yeah, he was kind of a fun character. I think his strength, like his superpower was super strength. I think that was just about it. There was a joke that the reason that his name was the Captain was because he had tried to name himself, Captain whatever, but every time he picked a new Captain whatever name, he found that name was already taken by somebody else, like Captain America or Captain Universe or whatever. So he mentions that he goes by the name Captain, and then they black it out, so it's like Captain Expletive. And he said when he first introduced himself to Captain America as Captain Expletive, Captain America washed his mouth out with soap, and from that point forward, he just started going by the Captain. So I don't know what his expletive name was supposed to be, like Captain Bastard, Captain Bullshit, Captain Fuck. I don't know, but it's a fun toy. Like, he looks like very non-superhero-y. I do like the white shirt. This is one of those characters where it really doesn't work if you take the coat off, because you see his t-shirt and then he's got these brown jacket sleeves, so that's kind of weird. You don't really have the option to take the coat off, even though it is removable, because he'll end up looking really weird. But I like the deco on these pants, and I like the sneakers, like these extreme high top sneakers, but they're kind of fun. Anyway, yeah, it's a fun set. So if you didn't already have another Modoc, I'd say, yeah, go ahead, pick this one up. So next up, I've got a figure that they call Compound Hulk. And this is a fun toy, but this is a good indicator that I'm not very good with money, because this is kind of stupid at the same time, and I really didn't need this in my collection. However, when I saw it, I just couldn't pass it up. So Compound Hulk is a combination of Green Hulk and Red Hulk. And this happened in the comic series that Jeff Loeb had written. Again, I don't remember when it exactly happened, but I've been reading Marvel comic books since I was 8 years old. A long time. I'm 43 now. And I've never read the Hulk on a regular basis. He's one of those characters that just never really interested me all that much almost every other character in the Marvel Universe I've cycled through at one point or another. But yeah, Hulk, I don't know why. He just never really did it for me. But it was when Jeff Loeb took over writing the book, and I'm not exactly even a Jeff Loeb fan. The reason I started buying it when Jeff Loeb started writing it is because the artist Ed McGuinness had been doing the artwork on the book, and I was a huge Ed McGuinness fan. He's just got this big, kind of exaggerated, muscle-bound, just crazy artwork, and I love it. The two of them had worked together for DC previously on the Superman-Batman comic book, for the series Public Enemies, which had been adapted into an animated series. Anyways, I bought a lot of the DC Direct figures based on that run as well, because it was directly translated from Ed McGuinness' artwork, and I was a big fan of that. Anyway, so it was when Jeff Loeb and Ed McGuinness came on the book that they introduced the Red Hulk, and it was a big mystery of what the Red Hulk's human identity was, and so it took a Red Hulk to get me to start reading the Hulk comic books, and I collected Hulk for a couple of years after that, and the two of them kind of shared a book for a while. And then the Red Hulk spun off into his own book, and I collected the Red Hulk until it came to its conclusion. And so, yeah, it's kind of weird to say, but I think I like Red Hulk more than Green Hulk. Although I will say, after that run, I stopped buying Hulk for a good long time. Although I have read the entire, the most recent run of Hulk. Who is it? Is it Al Ewing that's doing it? Anyway, it's been a really good run of Hulk as well, and that's the Green Hulk. And I'm looking forward to the next run of Hulk as well, because, I got to, off the cuff, I'm forgetting all the names. Ryan Otley is drawing the new run of Hulk, which launches, I think, like in a month or so. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Anyway, so this figure here, like I said, it's not something I really needed, because I've already got a Green Hulk, and I've already got a Red Hulk, which is the character that I really like. Now, I really love this Red Hulk figure. When this came out last year, I think I put it on my top toys of the year list, actually. But I love it. It's just big, bulky, and I love that expression on his face. It's very much Ed McGuinness artwork. Now, with this new figure here, it's the same figure. So, it looks like he's partly, half red, half green, like the paint job sells that. He's got the half purple pants, the half black pants. But really, this figure is just a repaint of this figure. They didn't find a way to take half the sculpting for this guy's head and half the sculpting from this guy's head. Like, this head it's just Red Hulk's face painted half green. So, yeah, did I need it? No. But I love this figure. It's a great figure, great base figure, great sculpting. So, yeah. This is just, I saw it in the store. I couldn't pass it up. And one of the main reasons for that was several years ago, before I was collecting the 6-inch Marvel Legends line, I was collecting the 3 3/4 inch Marvel Universe line. And I had actually, the reason I even started that line is because, you see, if we go even farther back, I had a very big collection of 5-inch Toy Biz figures in the 90s, and I had a huge tote bin full of these Marvel figures from the 90s. And so then they started with Marvel Legends, and I decided not to collect those because, again, I figured I already had a very complete Marvel collection. And then the 3 3/4 inch line started, and I thought, I'm not going to collect these either, again, because I'm still pretty happy with my 5-inch line. The figure that got me buying the 3 3/4 inch figures was the Red Hulk. They made a Red Hulk figure in that scale, and I thought, you know what, this is a newer character. He didn't exist in the 90s, so I don't have him from Toy Biz. So once I bought that Red Hulk figure in the 3 3/4 inch scale, it kind of won me over, and I started collecting the whole line. And during that 3 3/4 inch line, there was a compound Hulk figure that was a convention exclusive. And here it is. So, got horrible lighting here for some reason right now. But that's the compound Hulk. You see, I still have him in his packaging. Because my friend Cal, who owns the comic shop, Strange Adventures, that I shop at every week, He went down there for this convention, and he gave this to me, which I was kind of surprised. I don't know if he picked it up for free or whatever when he was down there, but he knew that I collected this line. I bought a lot of them from his store. And so, yeah, this was not a figure I was particularly seeking out because I already had the Red Hulk, which basically was this exact same figure. They did the same thing. They took the Red Hulk figure and just painted him half green, just like they did with this one here. Anyway, so Cal had gifted me this convention exclusive figure. He said, yeah, you're the guy in my shop that I know really collects this line, so I picked this up for you. And I was like, wow, cool. And because it was a convention exclusive and not a character that I particularly felt like I needed to open up, I just pinned him on my wall and kept him as a little keepsake. And so I have a little soft spot for Compound Hulk simply because of this figure. And so when I saw this guy on shelf the other day, I thought, well, I have him in the small format. I might as well get him in the big format. There you go. But if you have the either of these Hulks, you know what you're getting. It's the same body, same articulation, all that stuff. I think for accessories, he only came with an extra set of hands. So right now I've got him with 2 fists, but he also has these 2 open hands. But there you go. That's Compound Hulk. So speaking of silly repaints that I really didn't need in my collection, this here is Webman. And if you're not familiar with Webman, don't worry about it, because to be honest, I wasn't even familiar with Webman until I heard that this figure was announced a couple of months ago. This is a clone of Spider-Man who's supposed to be Spider-Man's opposite. I don't know if the opposite of a Spider-Man is a Webman, but clearly they've reversed the colors in his costume. And this guy, as far as I know, only appeared once, and it was in the comic book of the 70s called Spidey Super Stories, and that was kind of like a children's version of Spider-Man. It was outside of regular Marvel continuity, so not only were those books before my time, but it wasn't really a series that I ever felt the need to go back and collect. Once I started getting into comic books, I did go back and I bought a lot of old Spider-Man comic books that came out before my time. But yeah, Super Stories was never one I really felt the need to go after because since they were out of continuity, they didn't count. Anyway, so yeah, there was a storyline apparently where Doctor Doom made a evil clone of Spider-Man called Webman, and I've never read it, so my understanding was, Spider-Man's kind of a genius, Webman was kind of dumb, and that's about all I know about this guy. So they just recently released this guy in the, I guess what they call the retro packaging, so he came on a card and as opposed to a box like most Marvel Legends come in, and it was the 90s animated style packaging. Now, most of the figures that we're getting these days on the animated style packaging are homages to figures we actually received from Toy Biz in the 90s animated toy line, but Webman we did not get in that toy line, so he's a completely new creation for Marvel Legends here, and I think this is the first time ever this guy's gotten a figure. Pretty sure of that. For accessories, he came with a bunch of extra hands. You see here, he's got 2 extra sets. So I've got him with fists, but you've also got these open kind of crawling hands, and then you've got the web spinning hands. So you got those for each side. The articulation's pretty standard. I'm going to be pretty quick with this guy because I've already taken too long. But I'll be honest, when I ordered this guy, I expected him to be a repaint of the recently released classic retro Spider-Man, which I love this figure. This one was on my best of list last year, which surprised me because I already have dozens of Spider-Man. I really didn't think this guy was going to be anything different, and maybe at a glance he doesn't appear to be anything different, but it is just a really strong figure. It's like a perfect sculpt, the perfect amount of articulation. It's better than any of the other Spider-Man that they've previously released. I love it. So I thought we were getting this guy just in reverse colors, but what we actually got, this guy is a redo of this Spider-Man, which is the Gamerverse Spider-Man. He tends to be a little bit more muscular. He's got kind of more of a square jaw. It's a really strong figure too, so I don't mind that that's what we got for Webman. But yeah, that's what he is. He's a repaint of this guy. So it works really well. Still a strong figure. I'm glad they used this version as opposed to, say, the Pizza Spidey and stuff, which is a little lanky. The colors on this guy look really nice. I think it's probably true to the comic book, but They could have just used the reverse of this guy's colors and used a nice dark blue and a dark red, but instead they used this very kind of pastel-y blue. So he really pops. He really stands out on a shelf. And yeah, I think he's really cool. So I like this guy a lot. Kind of an oddball from an obscure little corner of Marvel's history, but I'm glad we got him. So next up is Tigra. This figure is brand new. I just picked it up maybe 2 or 3 days ago. And yeah, it's a very nice figure. And she is a member of the Avengers. She came out kind of on her own, so she's not part of a wave of figures, but she came out on the card back. So instead of a box, so she's part of the retro collection. So it's got kind of that silver foil-y card, which was reminiscent of some Toy Biz figures in the very early 90s. So I don't know if there was ever a Tigra released on that type of card back in the day. I don't think there was. But, I'm fine with it. I open up all my toys, so I don't really care what kind of cards they come on. But it's a fine packaging with some nice card art. Anyway, so as far as Tigra goes, she's a member of the Avengers, the West Coast Avengers. She's a chick with Tiger powers. That's pretty much all you need to know. As far as previous Tigra releases, the only one I have in my collection is the 90s era Toy Biz ones, which I mentioned earlier, and specifically the Avengers subset. So here is that Tigra. So, size-wise, you can see how she's about 5 inches, whereas these new figures are 6+. And this is definitely a superior figure. I think that much is obvious. This was never a great figure because this is based on a Avengers cartoon that kind of came late in the 90s. So the original Toy Biz toy line was all based on like the X-Men animated series, the Spider-Man animated series, and they were all kind of done in the same style, like the same universe. But this particular Avengers series was a new thing. It was set separately. The designs were all a little weird, but I ended up buying some of these figures just because some of these characters had not been released by Toy Biz previously. So if I wanted a Tigra, I had to buy this one, which is a little bit more stylized. You see she's got the Avengers. I don't know if that's supposed to be a tattoo on her hands, but whatever. That's what she's got. But this kind of weird haircut and this outfit, this is not a look I'm familiar with. I don't think she's ever had this in the cartoon. This was specific to this animated style. So this one, I definitely needed to upgrade Tigra in my collection. And so this is what we got, the new Marvel Legends version. And it's quite nice. If I have a complaint right off the bat, it's probably the head sculpt, in that I haven't read a book with Tigra in it for quite some time. Like maybe a few, like I think she appears in Avengers books every once in a while. I think she might have been in some of the Mighty Avengers books during the Bendis run. I really can't recall the last time I really encountered her. But I most associate her with the 80s, and in the 80s she was always drawn with much kind of bigger, wilder 80s hair. So that's how I picture her, and I think this figure would be more reminiscent of the Tigra I know if it had bigger hair. But to be honest, I don't know if big 80s hair would really improve the figure. Like, this is still a very pretty face sculpt, and having the hair combed back and a little bit more tame, I think works. So yeah, I don't mind that at all, really. The outfit is the one I'm typically used to seeing with her, so I'm glad that they kept that. I feel that there might be sometimes a bit of a fear of going too skimpy with some of these girls' outfits. But yeah, this is the outfit that she's been known to wear, just this black bathing suit. So I'm glad that that's what they went with and didn't give her some new black, full body suit or something just because they were timid to put this figure out on the shelves. But yeah, it looks good. So articulation's all pretty standard. For the sculpting, you see she's got, claws on her feet, claws on her hands. And this is subtle because you think they could have just taken basically a scantily clad female action figure and just painted it orange. But they seem to have sculpted some new pieces. Like you see here, there's a little, I don't know if you're seeing it there or not, but there's little patches of sculpted fur, above her knees. And here on the back of her calves, there's some fur sculpted on both legs. You also see it on her elbows, on her shoulders. So it's very subtle because I believe Tigra is supposed to be covered in, short cat fur. She doesn't have orange skin. So I'm glad they didn't go too nuts with the furry texture, because this is basically what she looks like in the comic book. But I do appreciate that they went that extra mile to give a little bit of texture to kind of indicate that she does have fur on her body. Then she does have a tail. It's articulated at the base, so you can spin that around and pull it right out, I guess, if you want. I do have a little trouble getting her standing. I'm always a little nervous with these type of joints on the ankle, because like it's just one little peg there holding her foot on, and if I mess with it too much, I'm always worried that's going to break. So maybe you might want to loosen that up with a hairdryer or something before you start trying to move her feet around. So if I can't get her to stand, it's not necessarily because she can't, it's just because I haven't had a chance to mess with it properly to make sure she stands. For accessories, she's got some fists, and she has an alternate head sculpt. So this is an angry head sculpt. The hair is a little more wild on this one, so this one is a little closer to the Tigra that I'm thinking of. It's still not as big as I would imagine, and I'm not sure which head sculpt I'll go with. They're both good, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe this one. This does look more like the Tigra that I grew up reading, where this one here looks more like, I don't know, a dead-eyed swimsuit supermodel or something. But anyway, it's a nice figure. One thing that I do think is kind of funny, it was actually my friend Dave, who sold this to me at the comic book shop, pointed out that the packaging mentions, like specifically in this like kind of blast effect, that she comes with a medallion. Well, where is it? Let me grab the packaging again. Yeah, so it specifically says here, cat's head amulet, exclamation point. Like, it makes it sound like she comes with something, but you can see here she doesn't really wear a cat's head amulet. I guess they're just referring to that little piece there, which she does have sculpted, but, you know, it doesn't even have any sculpted detail of a cat head. So it seems like a very odd detail to point out specifically, unless they're homaging, you know, maybe a blurb that was on an old Tigra figure. I don't know. But anyway, this is a cool figure, and I'm pleased with it. So next up is Sabertooth. And this is Sabertooth in his Age of Apocalypse look. So this is the second wave that Hasbro has done that focused entirely on the like alternate future timeline Age of Apocalypse. And that was not a storyline I particularly cared for. And I'm not a huge X-Men guy anyway. So I'm actually pretty happy when they make these waves of Age of Apocalypse figures, because it means it's figures that I don't need to buy. Don't get me wrong, I love Marvel Legends, but if you watch this channel regularly, you know I buy a lot of different toy lines, G.I. Joe, Transformers, He-Man, and yeah, the toy company's been putting out a lot of stuff. So when they put out a whole wave of figures that I'm not interested in, it's a kind of a sigh of relief. So yeah, I haven't bought many of these Age of Apocalypse figures, but with Sabertooth I made an exception, because Sabertooth is a favorite character of mine. He appeared in one of the very first comic books I bought, Web of Spider-Man 119, and Sabretooth fought the Black Cat. And I've loved the character ever since then. That was before he'd even fought Wolverine, so this was very early days in Sabretooth's career. And yeah, I want a nice figure of him. Ideally, I'd like a figure of him in the way he looked from those Spider-Man appearances, and from his very earliest X-Men appearances during the Mutant Massacre and things like that. But we haven't quite got one of those. We have this Sabertooth figure that came out a couple years ago from Marvel Legends, and it's okay. Like, it's in his like 90s look, and it has some of the elements that I like. It's got like the fur collar and stuff. I don't necessarily need this kind of head dress that he wears here, but anyway, even if I don't mind this costume, I just didn't love this figure when it came out. I find the head sculpt with the weird kind of pink around the eyes, the hair looks a little off to me. I didn't love it. The proportions seemed a little weird. He seemed a little big compared to other figures. Like if I bring Spider-Man out here again, I never thought of Sabertooth as being particularly huge, but you can see here he's like a whole head taller than Spider-Man. So yeah, it just didn't really suit my needs. So an okay figure, but when I saw that they were doing a new one for Age of Apocalypse, even though I have no real attachment to this costume, I thought, well, it's Sabretooth. I like this character. Maybe they'll fix some of the things that I didn't like with this figure. So I pre-ordered it, sight unseen. I'd seen images online, but I hadn't seen the figure in hand. Anyway, so he arrived in the mail the other day from Big Bad Toy Store, and I gotta say I'm kind of disappointed. It's not a bad figure, but it doesn't improve on the one I was already unsatisfied with in any way, really. I was complaining about that guy being too big. This guy towers over him. So, I don't know. Maybe Sabretooth is supposed to be really big, but I just never really pictured him that way. His arch enemy is Wolverine, and Wolverine is a short guy. So, I just don't think you want Sabretooth to be super tall, because then that just looks even weirder. This guy's very big. The body, I think this is an older body that they're reusing. Just the fact that he has, single elbows and stuff, with the knees, he's got the double jointed knee, which is pretty standard for most Marvel Legends now, double jointed knees and elbows. So the fact that they are reusing old arms, just the articulation's not as good. I find the proportions are a little weird on this figure, same as I found with this one. The costume on this guy is really boring. There's nothing Hasbro, I guess, could do about it if that's the design that, true to the comic books. But, even the fact that he's only got metal cuff on one hand, at least that broke up the monotony of this all brown outfit, but he doesn't even have that over here. So it's an ugly, boring outfit. The head sculpt is, so he's got this angry one. I don't like the ponytail, although the ponytail is removable, but then you're left with, it looks like there's supposed to be a ponytail there, so you can't really take it out without it looking weird. The face sculpt is okay. He does have an alternate head sculpt, which has got this weird little smirk with a tooth showing. So it's nice to have options, but I don't like this one much either. So I guess that's the lesser of two evils. But it kind of gives me the same problems that I had with this one. The all white eyes, the snarly mouth. I'd like something a little more neutral. But anyway, that's what we get. He also has two alternate hands. So he's got fists. Right now he's got the open hands. Now, I don't know if this is something, again, I read some of the Age of Apocalypse books when they first came out, because my brother was collecting X-Men books at the time, so I would read his, but I haven't read it since. But I don't know if this is a plot point or whatever, but, Sabretooth doesn't have any claws. That's his thing. Sabretooth is supposed to have these sharp claws, like a cat or something. So, I don't know if that's just something I'm not aware of, or is that a huge oversight here, that he doesn't have claws. Seems crazy. Anyway, so if you're an Age of Apocalypse fan or a huge Sabretooth fan, I guess pick up this figure, but it's, yeah. If I had seen this in stores, I don't know if I would have spent my $30 on it. So the one other figure from the Age of Apocalypse series that I picked up was Legion. So this is the son of Charles Xavier. I actually don't even know if he was featured in the Age of Apocalypse storyline, because I think this is just his standard appearance. Most of the other figures in the Age of Apocalypse storyline had radically new costumes, redesigned costumes and new hairstyles and all that sort of stuff. So most of the figures in that line, like Cyclops has got big long hair and Wolverine's missing a hand and all that stuff. But Legion, I'm pretty sure this is what he wears in the standard Marvel universe. So I think they might have just shoehorned him into this Age of Apocalypse line. I don't know if he was featured in that storyline. If he was, I guess he just continued to wear the same outfit that he normally does. If you can even call it an outfit, I don't know. I don't know much about this character, to be honest. I remember he was in a few books, again, that I read as a kid, but I haven't revisited those storylines since the 80s, and since I don't buy any current X books, I really haven't read anything with this guy in it for ages, so I don't really remember what his deal is. I think he was, he had some mental illness, so he was in an institution. He was featured in some early issues of the New Mutants that I remember. I don't really remember them, to be honest. I remember buying them, but I don't really remember the content. I never particularly cared for Legion. He always had a weird look. What is going on with this hair? I don't know. And then for an outfit, I think this is just kind of his hospital outfit that he's wearing. But, you know, a guy with a crazy haircut in, you know, some hospital scrubs and bare feet is not exactly screaming awesome action figure. But I do like the look of this figure. Like, they pulled off the look from the comic book quite well, I think. Like, as much as this hairstyle is ridiculous, I think it looks good on the figure. Like, proportions wise and everything, I think he looks good. The right amount of musculature and everything. Like, he's a cool figure. I like the painted detail on the outfit. Now, for accessories, he doesn't have much. I believe he came with one extra set of hands, so he's got fists here instead of the open hands. And he did come with one of the Build-A-Figure pieces. So I didn't mention this with Sabertooth, but both of them come with Build-A-Figure parts for the Age of Apocalypse Colossus. So you get this leg here and this head here, which is a shame. I'm not interested in the Age of Apocalypse figures, but this Colossus actually looks really cool. And I'm tempted, now that I've got a leg and a head, it's like, I kind of want to finish them, but I really don't want to have to buy like 5 more figures that I don't really want. But anyway, he's got potential. Legion, like I said, I don't have a whole lot to say about him. I'm always happy to add new figures to my collection. I just like the Marvel Universe, and having a wide array of characters just makes my shelf more fun. I still buy these things sometimes imagining like that I will sit down and play with them one day, which will never happen. But, you know, I would hate to pass on this Legion figure and then, you know, maybe a couple years down the road, they write a story with a really cool Legion story, and I'm like, oh man, I wish I bought that guy, but now that figure is crazy expensive on the secondary market. So, you know, I kind of just buy him now to cut my losses and say, now I have a Legion figure. If I ever like this character, I've got him covered. Anyway, that's it for him. Next up, I've got a couple of figures from the new Eternals wave. So, I've told you before that I'm much more of a comic book guy. I love the Marvel movies. I'm excited about the Eternals. I'm actually a fan of the comic book. You know, I think a lot of people are saying, well, nobody knows these characters, so hopefully the movie's good, the way nobody knew who the Guardians of the Galaxy were. But I did know who the Guardians of the Galaxy were, and I was still very pleasantly surprised by how well that movie turned out. And same as with these characters. I am a fan of the Eternals, and I hope that the movie's good. I don't necessarily love like the fact that they changed all their looks so drastically. So I don't know if I will buy any other figures from the wave, because I want an Icarus that looks like Icarus from the comic book that Jack Kirby designed. I don't necessarily need an action figure with an actor's likeness, like Athena that looks like Angelina Jolie, or Selma Hayek, and all the other actors that are in there. When I look at them on my shelf, I just see Selma Hayek, and I'd rather see a figure of the character as they appear in the comic book. Anyway, the reason I picked up this one is because Icarus is the main character of the Eternals, and he's my favorite character of the Eternals, and I like this actor as well. And he's not a super well-known actor, so it's not like, if Brad Pitt was playing this guy, I would look at this toy and I would just see Brad Pitt. Like, this guy, I honestly don't even remember his name right now. I've seen him there's a series on Netflix called The Bodyguard, which was recommended to me like last year, I think at the start of the pandemic or whatever, and it was really good. So yeah, I kind of like this guy from The Bodyguard, and then I know he had a small appearance in the movie 1917, so that's what I know him from. And I think this figure really captures his likeness like amazingly well. Like, I think it looks really good. Even his kind of tousled hair and everything, I think, yeah, it's spot on here. So if this guy becomes like a huge household name down the road, which he may very well become after this movie, maybe in the future when I look at this figure, I'll be like, oh, there's that guy. But right now, he's still kind of obscure enough that I can look at this and see Icarus. The costume, even though it's not the classic Icarus costume, it's still very eternally, I guess. It's, I like it. Like, it looks good with the metallic blue and the gold. So yeah, it's a pretty solid figure. I'm hoping this movie's going to be good. If I really love the movie, maybe I'll want to go out and get some of the other figures. But honestly, I hope the movie's good enough that Hasbro decides to make more Eternal figures based on the comic. Because I don't think they've ever done that. Like, in any line, whether it's the Toy Biz line or the 3 3/4 inch line, I don't think we've ever got characters like Icarus and Circe and Athena. So yeah, it'd be cool if this movie's a huge hit that they feel they can do that. But I wouldn't hold my breath, because even though Guardians of the Galaxy has been a huge success, and they've appeared in 3 or 4 or 5 movies now, they still haven't made comic book versions of a lot of those characters, so I'm still waiting on those. Anyway, for accessories, he had, I believe, just another set of hands. So he's got open hands. Right now I've got him displayed with his fists. And he's got a very cool alternate head, which is this one here with the blast effect in his eyes. Because if you've seen the trailer for this movie, you see it a couple times where his eyes light up Superman style, and he blasts these optic energy blasts from his eyes. So I think that looks really cool. I won't display him on my shelf like this, but yeah, it is a cool look. I dig it. So yeah, nice looking figure. Hoping this movie's good. But there you go. That's Icarus. Now, I know I just said that Icarus was going to be the only Eternals figure that I buy unless the movie really blows me away. But I guess I lied, because I forgot I had previously bought Kro. This is the first Eternals figure that I found, and I was looking forward to this one. Kro is a villain from the Eternals. If you've read the book, or who knows, maybe you've seen the movie by now when you're watching this video. The kind of the backstory is the Eternals are the good guys, and then the Deviants are the bad guys. And the Deviants, they are all very unique looking, whereas the Eternals are just humans. The Deviants, they kind of have mutated, and they look radically different. And one of the generals of the Deviants was Kro, K-R-O. And he was just this pink-skinned, kind of demon-looking guy, but he was pretty humanoid, really. He sometimes could grow horns out of his forehead, which made him look a little bit more demonic. But even that, he had the ability to morph his shape, and he would just grow the horns to kind of scare humans. But what I liked about him is, even in the earliest comic books that were written and drawn by Jack Kirby, is that he was not just a villain that just wanted to destroy the world. Like, he was actually having a love affair with one of the Eternals. He was a character that seemed like he had a little bit more depth and a little bit more like reasons and justifications for the things that he did. So this figure here looks nothing like the Kro from the comic books, but hopefully that this character gets his due. I hope they treat him well in the movie and don't make him just some like one-note villain. But as much as I like the Jack Kirby designs, Kro is one of these characters where I'm willing to try something different. Because for one, these guys, the Deviants, can alter their shape and they can kind of look like whatever. And the fact that this guy's all stringy and gummy and he's got all these tentacles and stuff, it shows that his shape is kind of morphing, I think. I wouldn't be surprised if he takes a couple of different shapes in the movie. But yeah, I don't know if he would have looked great if he appeared in the movie as just like a kind of a pink guy with little horns on his head. He just might not have looked very threatening. This guy looks a lot creepier. So who knows? If this movie's a huge hit, maybe they'll make a comic book version, but again, that seems very unlikely to me. So I knew if I ever wanted a Kro figure in my collection, this would have to do. It was kind of the same thing I said in my previous video about Surtur. I would much prefer a comic book version of Surtur, that big god from Thor Ragnarok, but very unlikely that they'll ever make one. So if I wanted him in my collection, I had to settle for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So yeah, this guy, he's big, like compared to other figures in the line. If I bring Icarus back, you'll see just how much bigger he is. Not just taller, but just he takes up a lot more space. So that's why he was a deluxe figure. He came in a larger box. For accessories, he has these alternate hands. So right now I have him displayed with these big viney arms, but you see they just disconnect right there. So you can unplug these basically at the wrist and then just give him a much more normal human hand. He also has these things on the back. You can plug these out, and you can't do anything about these things on his shoulder, so they're always going to be there. But yeah, if you want him to look a little bit more human, you can pull those things out of his back, change his hands out, and then he would be a lot more normal looking, I guess. But anyway, it's a cool figure. It's a cool redesign. I'm open-minded about this new look. The paint job's really nice. It's subtle. Like, he kind of looks like just a dark figure, but when you get up close, you can see here how the light kind of reflects on him. He's got some gold, some green, some kind of purples in there. So yeah, he's kind of like this oil slick or whatever, and it looks good. So anyway, there's Kro. Let's move on. Now these last two figures I'm going to cover together, partly because they came in a box together, but also because I want to speed things along here. I really don't like going over an hour, and I think we're just about at the hour mark. So this was a 2-pack of Deadpool and Hit Monkey. This set has been around for a long time, so most of the figures I just showed you are all pretty new. They're all just coming out, literally right now in the last week or two. This one's been around for maybe even a year or more already. It's been sitting around at my local GameStop, and I've ignored it because it was like $60 plus, which is the price of 2 full-sized figures, and clearly one of these figures is not full-sized. So I also didn't need Deadpool in the white suit. I was like, yeah, so what am I paying for? $60 for this little monkey guy? No thanks. So I passed on it for a long time. I'd seen it get reduced in price here and there, and I'd considered it, but still couldn't justify the purchase. Anyway, the other week I went in there and it was half price. So it was $30, which is the price of, one single figure. Still too much for just Hit Monkey, but I thought, you know what, I can maybe do something with this this body here. So I figured, what the hell. So you see here, Hit Monkey. So he's a character. He first appeared in a one-shot called Hit Monkey. And then I believe he appeared in a few issues of Deadpool, which is why these two get partnered together. But yeah, he is one of those little monkeys from the Arctic. I don't know if Arctic monkey is exactly what they're called, but yeah, and he's trained as a hitman. He's not humanoid, like he doesn't speak like Spider-Ham would or Rocket Raccoon or anything. He's basically just a wild monkey who's been trained to kill people. So yeah, it's a kind of a goofy idea, but it's a fun idea and a perfect kind of character to pair with Deadpool, because Deadpool's kind of goofy himself. So there was a previous Hit Monkey figure. There was actually a Build-A-Figure Hit Monkey years ago, which seems kind of crazy because Build-A-Figures, I feel, should be larger characters. So yeah, it seemed kind of cheap to make people buy 6 or 7 figures just to build this little Hit Monkey. I don't know if this is the same Hit Monkey that was from the Build-A-Figure wave, just assembled. Because I never had that figure. That was kind of before I was getting into collecting Marvel Legends. But anyway, it's a good figure. Paint job's nice. If anything, the other monkey wouldn't have had the white suit. He might have been in a dark suit for the Build-A-Figure. But anyway, I think it looks good here. Deadpool. So like I said, I mostly bought this for the suit. I'm not much of a Deadpool fan. So yeah, whatever. He's got lots of accessories here. And not only am I not a huge Deadpool fan, but I have so many Deadpools already. Like, I've been forced to buy Deadpools to complete Build-A-Figures in the past. So I've got the standard Deadpool in red. And then I had to buy him in blue, his kind of X-Men uniform. And then I had to buy him in a pirate costume. And, they've had versions of him in his boxer shorts. And now this one in a suit. It's a little silly. And if you're a hardcore Deadpool fan, then great. But for somebody like me, I've got way more Deadpools than I ever need. I've also got him in his gray and black X-Force costume. Anyway, this set came with a ton of accessories. It's got this guy here, which I believe his name is Headpool. He's just like a decapitated zombie Deadpool. And he's on it says Big Pool here, which I think is supposed to be kind of a spoof of the Bigfoot monster truck. We saw this same little car with head accessory previously used for Silvermane. What else we got here? We got a guitar, very 80s painted guitar. I don't know if this is from something specific from the comic book or just something they threw in there for fun, but that's kind of a neat accessory I might find a home for. Also, we've got like some headphones here, so you put those on. Again, kind of a weird accessory. I don't know if it's scene specific, if there was a scene in the comic book where these two appeared together where he had headphones. But anyway, there you go. You got those. He's got the shield. He's got the swords. He doesn't want to stand up very well. Anyway, I'll lay him down for a sec. He's also got a couple alternate heads. So he's got the fully masked Deadpool head, as well as this one here with the mask pulled up, and then the fully exposed head. He's got this little pistol here, which is kind of a fun 80s retro zebra print pink gun. He's got a couple of little machine guns here. And I think that was it. Anyway, so an okay set. But before I go, I just want to quickly show you what I had planned to do with this Deadpool body. So this is what I was planning on doing with that Deadpool body to help me justify the cost of this set, because I really didn't need Deadpool in a suit. So when I see that white suit, I thought maybe I could create the Spider-Man villain, the Rose. Because I have a couple other heads in my collection. Like I have a Hammerhead head and a J. Jonah Jameson head. Characters that might work on a suited body. But the all-white suit, you know, that's a pretty bold statement. That's not the kind of thing you're going to see J. Jonah Jameson wearing. Plus the red neck, you know, kind of doesn't really work very well with a flesh tone head on the top. So what I've done is I had a couple extra purple hands kicking around. I think these might have been from Kang the Conqueror. I'm not entirely sure. Now the Rose was often seen holding a rose or trimming a rose. I didn't have a Rose action figure handy, but this Flower recently came with a Jean Grey figure. I've just got that in his hand with some little stick tack right now. And then for his head, I wish that red neck, I wish I could do something about that. But I used the masked head from Baron Zemo, which here I have the Marvel Cinematic Universe version of Baron Zemo, which I did have him displayed with his mask on, which is I prefer. But really, he only wore the mask for like one scene in the show. So this is the look that you most associate with him from the live-action movies. So I thought, you know what, maybe I can display him with his unmasked head. And they actually, just at HasCon this past weekend, they revealed that they're going to be releasing a new comic book version of Baron Zemo. So if I get that and displayed in my collection with the mask on, then I feel even better about having this one here with his face exposed. So I took his masked face, put it on Deadpool, and then the sunglasses I took off of a Stan Lee figure that I have as part of my Marvel Universe collection, which that's a whole other story, don't ask. But it kind of works. Like the sunglasses, they rest in place, but in order to hold them there, I did use a little bit of stick tack. It looks pretty awful right now, but I guess if I really want to commit to this, I could use a dab of crazy glue. This is kind of just a test trial run. I also find the head, like for one, I don't like that red neck, but I find it sits kind of low. Like if I push this head on, it almost looks like he doesn't have a neck at all. So I did take a little bit of stick tack and stuck it in there to kind of give a little bit more height on him. So it's not perfect. But I don't know if they're going to make a Rose figure anytime soon. He's a character that I've liked since the 80s, and he's never had a figure. He was just recently resurrected in the comic book, so who knows, maybe we will get a figure in the near future. But until then, I think this will do. So those are my latest Marvel Legends releases. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please make sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and leave me some comments below. So as always, thank you very much for watching. I'll be back soon with another video, so stay tuned, and I'll see you next time. Ciao.